My name is Jessica Janiuk. I am a staff software engineer at Google on the Angular framework team, where I have been for the last 4.5 years. And this is my first time at JSHeroes, and I'm really excited to be here. So a little about me. I currently live in Munich, Germany, and I am a huge, huge geek. Now, Angular is known as the enterprise software, and I thought I'd demonstrate that right here for all of you on the actual bridge of the enterprise. I also build Star Wars droids for fun. This is me with my R2-D2. I also like to travel. This is a photo of me on a glacier in New Zealand. That was really cool. It's on the top of a mountain. If you have never been to New Zealand, you should go. It's really worth going. And I'm also the person behind that weird Angular serial video, which is one of those things that while I was doing it, I'm like, I'm getting paid to do this? What am I doing right now? And if you have not seen the Angular serial video, you need to go see that. You can wait until after my talk, please, but you should watch it. So another thing about me is that I'm actually a big fan of the Avatar series. And wait, not that Avatar. I've never been a big fan of the James Cameron one. I mean this version of Avatar. So quick show of hands, who's actually seen the Avatar series? Okay, good. You'll get some of the references in this talk because I made the very risky move of theming my talk off of Avatar: The Last Airbender, knowing that there's probably a good portion of the people in the audience that haven't seen it. But I did it anyway, because really for one joke, and you'll see it. But anyway, I'm a big fan. And yeah, little known secret about Avatar. This is Avatar Aang. He actually has a last name. Very few people know this. So I'm going to get you all in on the secret. It's Euler. Aang Euler. My earring is being a problem, apparently. Maybe I should just do this to avoid any more noise. There we go. So as far as this joke is concerned, I'm sorry, it was bad. My Appa-ologies, and if you don't know, that's Appa on the screen. So I saw hands earlier. How many people have used Angular recently within the last couple of years? So everybody, yeah, great, okay, great, all right. So it may surprise you to know that 2 days ago, we actually released Angular version 20. And you might think that that means Angular is no longer a teenager, but turns out we skipped 2 versions, so this is all lies. We're not actually out of the teenage years yet. We're actually 18 versions old. We just call it version 20. So yeah, this version has a lot of stability happening in it. If you're unfamiliar with Angular and a lot of the APIs we have around it, we have this concept called developer preview. So there's experimental, which is don't use this yet, we're playing with something. And then we have developer preview, which is we think this is in the right shape of an API. We think you're going to have, not much is going to change here, but we're not ready to call it stable yet. And then we stabilize it later where we call it good to use. And what we found is a lot of people still use developer preview APIs in production, but we offer no guarantees that we will not break stuff, because one of the reasons we have this is because if we want to make a breaking change to an API and we find during the developer preview that something needs to be tweaked, if we had made it stable, that means we have to wait deprecation cycles before we can actually release it as stable. So we have this developer preview thing that we've been using, and it's actually been working really well for us. And in this version, we actually stabilized a ton of stuff from our signal inputs and outputs, linked signal effect after next render. After render effect, there's quite a few APIs, and we'll talk about some of these. But we're going to start out talking about incremental hydration, which is, I'm a little biased because it was my baby. I actually did all the work on it, and we ended up shipping it. So what incremental hydration is almost every framework has hydration. Hydration is typically a full application thing. So your server renders your content, it gets down to the client, and then you kind of have to rewire up the application to the HTML that's there so that the framework knows what's there. But it would be nice to not have to do that to the entire page all at once. Maybe you've got sections of your page that maybe doesn't need to be hydrated yet. And what if you didn't have to ship the JavaScript for that yet until at some point in the future? Well, that's what incremental hydration is here. And since we're leaving content dehydrated, it's very similar to what Sokka's experiencing here because he's dehydrated. And I think he's inching his way towards some oasis or a mirage or something. And yeah, so we created these triggers. And we needed some way of saying, hey, you want to hydrate this page. Well, how? When? When does that? What actually happens when we want to incrementally hydrate a block of code on the page? Well, we needed some form of interaction or maybe some way for you as the developer to specify when it will happen. So we have these triggers that allow you to specify that. And you can use more than one at once if you'd like to, but it gives you a lot of declarative control over when hydration occurs. You can even do custom conditions with the when. And it looks like this, where we have these blocks called defer blocks. We actually use the same syntax for our new control flow. If you've seen that, you can do at, if, at, else, and whatnot. And defer is our native primitive for lazy loading. So it's like the perfect boundary for doing this kind of incremental hydration thing. So we have these triggers, and you can see there's a couple different kinds. We've got on, and then we've got hydrate on. And as you might imagine, hydrate on has to do with when you actually want to hydrate a section of the page. And you can nest them, like in this case, where you have some that hydrate on one trigger, some that hydrate on another, and we have to kind of resolve that at runtime depending on what you've used. So I thought maybe next we could do a quick little demo of that, and hopefully we don't. So we'll hop out of the slides and we'll see if I can navigate this because that's what we want. Okay, so this, we'll maybe zoom in a little bit here so you can see what's going on. This is a live running app running the latest Angular. And you're going to see we've got these blue borders. We've got the gray borders. You've got this thing in the upper left-hand corner that's telling you how many components have been loaded and which ones are hydrated. And we've got this, I've got an artificial delay. So each block here, when it hydrates, we've inserted 3 seconds so that as you trigger stuff, it will wait 3 seconds before it moves on to the next one. And so each of these are using an interaction trigger. So let's say I come here and I hit add to cart. You're going to see some orange lines, which tells you it's actively fetching. And then when it turns blue, it's hydrated. And there it goes. And you'll notice that there's still a couple of blocks down at the bottom here that have not been hydrated yet. So you can actually do that here too. So you can leave content, nested content dehydrated, and all of the parent content gets hydrated. It's pretty awesome. We can actually, I don't know if this is gonna, again, cooperate. And please don't judge this code. It's an older code, but it still checks out. We've actually got the triggers here, and we could live change them. So maybe we'll go with what? Idle? Not with caps. There we go. And if we switch back and this refreshes, once the page hits idle, you can see that it hydrated and hydrated again. And so if we drop this down to 0 and we refresh, and it should go quite a bit faster. Yep. Normally, it's pretty seamless, and you don't actually see anything happen. But it's great. Like, your content is actually there. There's no like placeholder content or anything. It just actually works. And we're really excited about that. So let's see if I can actually find my slide deck again. There we go. I found it. I found it, everybody.
Nice.
Woo! All right. So this was now declared stable, and very stable like an earthbender. So that's exciting. People were actually using it when it was in dev preview, but now I'm guessing more people will. And this is how you enable it. You can just add this with incremental hydration to your hydration provider, and you're good to go. That's all you have to do. Yeah. So that's incremental hydration. If you've used Angular, you might have heard this term called Zone.js, having to deal with zones. It's a thing that we created back in the original Angular 2 when it released back in the day. And it was our form of change detection. And it was supposed to be magical and global. Essentially what it does is it patches all of the native APIs. So whenever your application uses those native APIs, Zones is like, aha, I see that you used it. Now I can run change detection. And that would update your app. And it was a great idea, but unfortunately, in practice, what it ended up with is you'd end up with 20 change detection cycles triggered by one little change to the UI, and it ended up being a performance blocker. And on top of that, the platform has moved forward since Zone.js, and we've just got APIs that can't be patched anymore, like async await can't be patched. So we've been trying to move away from this for quite a while. And now we actually do have zoneless change detection, which means you don't need to do any of that. It's much more granular. You can deal with, you actually will have exact control with when change detection fires. And if you're using signals, it's actually nicely integrated into that and knows to change detect whenever a signal gets changed. Just results in better performance overall, very similar to Ang's little dance here. Very great little performance there. And here's the screenshot of the actual PR and all of the issues that it fixed. Huge shout out to Andrew Scott, who is the person who actually did all the work on this, because it was a huge effort. And this is how you enable it in your application. You just add it to the providers list, and you're all good to go. It is, again, developer preview. We had it in experimental in V19, but we're pretty sure this is all set to go going forward, so give it a try. And I bet you'll be really happy with the performance improvements. DevTools. So we did a nice little collaboration with the Chrome DevTools people. And sorry for the brightness, apologize. This is a screenshot. I didn't actually do this slide, so thanks to Pavel, who actually did all the developer work on these DevTools. He took the screenshot for me, and apparently he likes light mode. So we now have this really cool portion of the panel that actually is a custom track for the Angular app itself, which you can see right here. Oh, that dims it down really nice. It's not as bad. And from there, you can actually see the code you wrote and how it's being triggered, as well as your code that Angular compiled, and dig deeper into that, and then you can actually see exactly why that code is executing. So you get this really nice view into the performance of your Angular app. It's kind of like a tunnel into the app, maybe like a secret tunnel? Like a secret tunnel through the application. Secret tunnel. And if you saw the show, you'd know what it is. And I apologize for my singing. Next up, we have testing, which is, I know, everybody's favorite subject, but there's been a lot happening on this front within Angular's framework. Maybe you know that karma is deprecated. And but the good news is that Uncle Iro here can still enjoy his jasmine tea, and the tea is for testing. We've actually been actively working on integrating other test runners into Angular. We've had Web Test Runner and Jest as experimental for the past couple versions, and we literally, as part of V20, just added support, experimental support for Vite test. And what's interesting is you can kind of see the text here, but it says Web Test Runner and Jest, they're for browser tests, but VTest can do both browser and Node. And we, as a framework, set of framework authors, are not entirely sure what you all want. So we would really like if you would try it out, figure out which one you would recommend that we actually stabilize as the next recommended test runner for Angular. So please try that out and let us know. And then signals, this has been all over the news as far as what Angular has been doing with signals. We stabilized a whole ton of that. Wait, this is an avatar-themed talk? Oh, it's because it's the bat signal. Slide deck, we're supposed to be doing avatar stuff, though. No, not that version. Thank you. That better be the last time, slide deck. So here's the whole signals family within Angular's space. We actually have a ton of native signal-based APIs now where you can use inputs and outputs and all of the queries for content. And we just recently also added the primitive for resources, which is a really cool API for being able to declare asynchronous dependencies. And if you wanted to create one of these, you might want to create a cabbage resource. I don't know why you'd want to do that. It's not an asynchronous resource. I guess if you're waiting for them to, well, whatever. We did create HTTP resource as an extension of resource, so you can actually use this to make API calls and actually get a signal back, which is awesome. And that's actually based on our HTTP client, which we've had for a long time, and it works really well. People have been providing really good feedback on this. This is an example of how you could create a resource that is a stream of data, kind of like a waterbender throwing their stream around. And it's a very small amount of code for what gives you your signal back. We also have hybrid rendering that we've now added to Angular because we've had server-side rendering native to Angular for a few versions now. And since now Angular is also using Vite, we can do a lot of really cool things with that. If you're unfamiliar with Avatar, there's a lot of these hybrid animals in Avatar, and I love it. This is a platypus bear, which is just a ridiculous concept. And now we have native hybrid rendering configuration APIs, so you can actually define on a per route basis whether you want it to be rendered on the server or pre-rendered, or if you want it to be client rendered only. And this gives you a lot more flexibility, and it makes it much easier than it used to be to do static site generation or pick and choose what you want within your application. This was made stable as well in V20. We're really excited about that. And then host bindings. So host bindings, if you are unfamiliar, when you have a component, you set your template for your component. That has to live in a host element. And sometimes you might want to bind something to that host element, and that's what host binding is. So I get it, slide deck, because Jake Sully is the host. He's getting bound into the avatar. It's very clever. It's very clever, slide deck. Don't you sass me. I will turn this whole presentation around. Thank you, slide deck. Thank you. All right, so host bindings, we've had them for quite a while, but one of the things we could not do up until recently is make them type safe, which we have now been able to do. So if you're using a host binding, you don't have to, you'll actually get your red squigglies or your orange squigglies, depending on how you've configured it, I guess. And it will actually throw errors for you if you've actually used the wrong types, which is awesome. And this is how you enable that in your config. And yeah, we also have some improvements to our language service. And this is an example of some really cool improvements we've made to our create component functionality. We actually have a native create component function that we did not have before, and you can actually do your bindings directly in there, which is something that was not available before as well. There's a bunch more that was released as far as all of this in V20. Untagged template literals. We're starting to kind of move a little bit away from the old Angular animations package. We've stripped all of the dependencies from it, from material, which is great because that saves like 60 kilobytes that package ships with. We've got hot module reloading as the default, and we actually have a really cool schematic to clean up your unused imports now. There's so many things you are going to be excited about that you might actually go into the avatar state. But be careful, because I know people actually lose control when they're in that state, so just, be cautious. This is one thing I'm very excited about. On Wednesday, we released an RFC for our mascot. We've been thinking about having a mascot for a long time. We've been working with a design company that has created other famous mascots for other programming languages and frameworks. And these are the 3 finalists right now. Personally, I'm very partial to the angular fish, the angular fish. Seems a lot of fans like the little helmet guy. But we would like to hear your voice. Please head over to, again, after the talk, over to the GitHub. And then you can go to the discussion sections, find this RFC, and you can actually put your opinion directly there. We'd love to hear your opinions. I would love to have a little plush of one of these guys. And then a couple future teases. We've got a lot in the pipeline, which I totally just skipped over. We've got, let's see, there's going to be an RFC published in a couple of weeks about animations within Angular that I've been working on for quite a while. And we are also working on something called selectorless. If you've worked with Angular for a long time, you know that we've had a lot of boilerplate in our components. There's a lot of things you have to throw in the decorator. You got to provide a selector name. You've got to do imports, and then you got to import it again. And we've been slowly trying to eliminate all of this boilerplate. And selectorless is an effort we're doing to essentially eliminate you having to manually provide your selector and do the dual imports, and then be able to just use your class name as your DOM node. So watch for that. And yeah, there's a few more things coming, and I wish I could tell you more about them. So that's most of what I had for you. But before I go, I just want to maybe note that, things right now in this world are a little rough. And I just want to remind you all that you're not alone. And if you're feeling down, please reach out, because there are a lot of people that care about you, and that's me included. I know this from personal experience. So if you would like a hug, please come and I will gladly give you a hug. That's it.
Keep it going, everybody!